All right. Well, welcome. Just thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to gather together, and this is a pretty unprecedented time for all of us to really look at how we're responding, how we're being with ourselves, how we're supporting one another. And it's been so inspiring to see so much support coming forward, really fabulous. How I'm going to just really give great thanks to my PCA staff and clients who are really, learning whole new ways of how do we support ourselves, how do we create a it's really how do we elevate our immunity through daily practice, through how we're being with ourselves, which is what embodied movement is all about. And this virus is really bringing us to a halt, causing a pause, a time to reflect. And I really feel it's a time for action, a time for reflection and looking to see what is it that we're doing, what's working, and what might be missing that we can put in that really helps us to meet these circumstances, to meet this threat in a way that we are a host that has immunity. So even though, it's not like I never get colds or I don't get, problems, but how do we move through things whether or not we get the virus? See, it isn't about getting it or being a victim. It's really about how are we shoring ourselves up to meet this threat in a way that gives us strength and takes us through to the other side with greater awareness, with more ability to be adaptable. That is our nature. Our biological nature is adaptability. So I'm really grateful to have this time together and to be able to share some of the practice that I've cultivated over the years, and that is so grounding. That's what we're calling this workshop, right? Grounding. We're saying getting grounded and staying strong as we meet this threat. And it's teaching us a lot. Just gathering food has been amazing, right? Just being able to feed ourselves. But how are we able to do that in a way that that is not just grabbing things that aren't deeply nourishing? It's a time to really learn about nourishment. What is deep nourishment? So I'd like to also say that for people who are available next week on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a free mastermind workshop with Ada Wells on the contemporary Pilates Haven. And I'll go into much more detail around the science of, we're going to go into humming today, which is a breath that we teach at PCA. But why is this so valuable? But I'm going to go next week, I'll go into much more science around not just humming, but also some other breath practices and other daily practices that are hugely immune producing, really support the immune system, report and support all of our body systems, because really the immune system is not separate. It's not by itself. Now we're going to do immunity. What is cardiovascular health? What is respiratory health? What is nervous system health? What is endocrine health? What is it? What is gastrointestinal health? How do all of these systems that we think of separate things, the body does not look at systems as separate. We are whole beings. And everything works together all the time. So we're going to be doing immune boosting today, and it's not separate from cardiovascular. It's not separate from all the other systems. Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health is united, is one. So as we go through this practice, we'll be together in the practice for about an hour, and then about an hour and 15, and then at the end, I'll pause and we can gather together, and I'd love to hear, questions or if you want clarification on something, just be in touch, and we can, or if you have to leave, and know that we can discuss more, and that we'll be building on this workshop. So if there's some part of the workshop that you'd love to have more build on or develop more, that's what we're cultivating. That's what I'm looking for. And I have my own ideas, but I'd love to hear what is in your mind and what's valuable for you. So as far as our biological way of being with ourselves, we talk at PCA about how we're not looking at core as a thing called hardening your abdominals. What is core as a way of being with ourselves? This is a whole new awareness of understanding how we relate to ourselves and the world around us. We've come from this place, and it's still very prevalent. We can hear it in our language. We get caught in biomechanical language. We think of the spine as a column. And if you think of your spine as a column, you think of stacking things on top of one another. Well, what's interesting, even though the lower spine, let's look at Tiny Elvis for a moment, my personal assistant. We look at the spine, yes, the lower vertebrae are bigger. The middle vertebrae around the thoracic area are more medium, and the cervical vertebrae are much smaller. So you would think, well, gee, it makes sense. This takes all the weight. This has less weight. So therefore, we're stacking ourselves up. But really, what we're now discovering as we study more fascial anatomy, awareness of how we come into being. We actually, as we're developing as an embryo, as we're in the womb, and by the way, if you'd like to see a little more around the language and a little more around where we're coming from and our embryological way of being, look at my article that I wrote. It's on our website. After this, you can just go to the website, Peace Pilates Center of Austin, and go under continuing education, go to resources, and go to the article, Moving Beyond Classical and Contemporary Pilates. It's not about don't do classical Pilates, it's about labels. We label ourselves as a classical teacher, a contemporary teacher, and both of those have their pros and cons. So as we look in that article, you see that I speak a lot about fascial interconnectedness. What is our connection? what is our way of being with ourselves? For me personally, this is just sharing part of my awareness building. See, both of these are identical. Both of these little toys are identical, but you'll notice there's a big difference about them. One is collapsed. The other is buoyant. These are what's called Tensegrity toys, which is what this little prop is. And this is a whole new concept that builds from biomechanics. Biomechanics is the stacking of a building or a person, aligning ourselves. Compressive way of thinking. Whereas biotensegrity, which is what this little model begins to create an understanding of, this is called the Tensegrity model. And it is a spatial, creates an understanding of space. So imagine, this is a way to wrap your head around it, imagine that the struts here are your bones. And the soft linkage is the muscles, the connective tissue of your body, the blood, the lymph. This is all part of the way that our bones are actually not joints that are levers. The bones are actually connected by a tension, compression, spatial orientation. So that rather than thinking of, well, I have synovial fluid between my tibia and my femur, and that's what's keeping the space. Guess what? I had major injury on this leg twice, and I've had bursts, I've had all sorts of problems. I have very, very little synovial fluid, but guess what? Because of what I do, and because of this understanding of buoyancy, how to create space in the joints, there is a way that my knee is healthier now than I was when I was 25 or 30, when I was doing yoga. So here's the compressive. I used to overstretch all the time and just jam myself into deep, deep Gumby-like movements where, bam, I could so easily compress, and I'd get lots of kudos for, wow, look how far you can go. But I was hurting myself. Isn't that fascinating? But I didn't know that. It just felt normal. But what is normal? That's what we need to keep questioning. We need to keep reevaluating what we're doing and really notice, is what I did 10 years ago still working for me now? Because many of the moves I used to do when I used to do a shoulder stand, I used to really go very tight onto I could really go straight up from my neck. You know what? I'm 73 now. That doesn't feel good. I could very easily go, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do it the way I used to do it? But that's counterproductive. It's actually hurting myself. So what we're really studying is, what is advanced thinking? What is a way of being with myself that is honoring my biological way of being with myself? How can I move in a way that nurtures that feeling of tension, compression, so my body is buoyant, so that I feel my spine is omnidirectional, not just flexion extension, side bend, rotation. That's biomechanics. We don't operate that way. That is machinery. That's not us. We are able to move in ways that are way beyond what a machine can do. So this way of being with ourselves really builds on. We'll look at that for a moment as far as the movement and how that relates to how we move, and we'll go through some flow together. But let's look at something else. So how does that understanding of buoyancy and contract, relax, exhale, inhale, how do they relate to one another? This is the exciting part where I take off my vest. I thought you can see my body a whole lot better if I don't have the vest on. So, what is, get your TheraBand. And if somebody doesn't have a TheraBand at home, get your towel. Have it lengthwise like this. Fold it again, and then just bring it behind your back, because what you want to look at is where your diaphragm is right below your breast. It's right around your heart. So the diaphragm it actually separates your upper body from your lower torso. And that feeling of holding the towel, just sense weight into your sitting bones. And then from there, allow your inhale into your back. And as you exhale, just wrap the towel around your ribs and sense the movement of your ribs. So you just play with that feeling. We'll do that with a TheraBand too. Same thing. Sensing. Allow the inhale. And as you exhale, sensing the movement. The inhale creates expansion. The exhale, your ribs melt down. You may even notice that feeling, you can even put the band right at the base of your skull. Right here. That feeling. So you can feel that your head can move easily. Allow your inhale. And then as you exhale, let your shoulder blades relax and let your ribs melt. So your shoulder blades actually glide on the moving ribs as you exhale. And what that does is that allows your inner ear, the lift that happens along the front of the spine, to float up as your ribs melt down. So let's look for just a moment at that cue, because we're going to use that a lot as we move together. Relationship to gravity is primal, basic to our health as human beings. It's where we begin when we're in the womb. As the spine begins, day 28, the spine begins as a primitive streak, and guess what? We form this incredible two-directional relationship with gravity, relationship with space. And when we come out of the womb, that is our primary way of relating to ourselves and the world around us. So just sitting, notice, let's just start right here. Just notice, put the band around your back or the towel, feel your feet, allow your inhale, and as you exhale, just allow your spine to melt. Allow your breath. And allow your inhale. And as you exhale, just curl right to the point where you're melting ribs. Melt down. And then allow your inhale there. And exhale. And relax. So notice that you're talking to your diaphragm. You're talking to that place of melt. Shoulders melting. Shoulder blades can relate. Stay here for just a second and feel allow your inhale. Now as you exhale, let your shoulders be heavy and just begin to straighten your arms. And as you straighten your arms, only straighten to that place where your shoulder blades can be heavy. Because that is the place where you are sensing relationship to gravity. You're letting the earth support you, but also you're reaching from the transition place of your elbow. Your elbow is a transition place where your hand reaches into the world or to other people to reach and receive, and your upper arm connects to you. So through our arm and our legs, we relate to grounding to ourselves as we exhale and stay connected to our environment. Grounding as we exhale, legs relate and actually move the exhale. When you allow the breath to connect the shoulder blades to the low, deep belly, and we'll go into this as we move more and more, but these are just places to start. That, once again, like I said earlier, the knee, from the knee, well, let's look at down the back up the front, and then you'll see how the that distinction of relating to the world around us and ourselves comes about through our own exploration and direct experience. So a sense of down the back, we allow the shoulder blades to soften and widen. That place right at the manubrium, right at the center of the collarbones, that is the place where our collarbones soften and widen. And then the shoulder blades, put your hand on your shirt and let the waterfall release down your back. We're calling it a waterfall because it actually feels like that as a fascial glide. The fascia, that everything is connecting. Remember we talked about everything is connecting. The fascial system, which once again is great, is huge. Like bones are fascia. There's just more mineral. Everything is connected to everything else within our body. So as we exhale, the shoulder blades release down the back. And what's fascinating about that is that when the shoulder blades release down the back, the low belly curls up the front, right at the front of the pelvic floor. You can even feel it as you hold behind your thighs here, allow your inhale, and as you exhale, let your shoulders relax as you just barely curl your tail. And notice how there's a waterfall down the back feeling and internal lift up the front feeling. So what's amazing about that is that happens whole body. We're calling that shoulder blade to deep belly because you'll see how when we move together that, oh my gosh, there it is again, there's shoulder blade to deep belly, and that supports your legs connecting through your pelvic girdle to your breathing spine. The spine breathes. It's not a column. It's like a GPS. It's an amazing antenna that connects us to the earth and to the world around us. And we are orienting through our sensory awareness. We're able to hear and to see and to be in a spatial. Why do we get so moved and so enlivened by looking at a horizon? Because that is an expanse that allows us to feel our true nature. It allows us to feel what I'm doing right now with my arms. There's a sense of widening our being when we reach out. Feel it for yourself. Just let yourself reach out. And notice how your body has more of a sense of expansion. And so that feeling of the waterfall down the back relates to sit bone, tailbone, and relates to the tripod of the foot. You'll see this also on the resource page. Just look on that resource page where you saw the other article to look at the core as relationship chart that I've created over the years for us to explore our living architecture. It's a completely inspiring way of being with ourselves that we're now really beginning to explore more and more through fascial awareness and a deeper understanding of our orienting system. We orient rather than align. We are in a way of being with ourselves that is noticing where I am, being aware, being adaptive. So the waterfall down the back, through the shoulder blades melting down, sit bone, tailbones melting down into the tripod of the foot, creates an internal lift, a lift. And we see this in walking. When we walk, right, we push off, gently push off the foot, and we lift. We can get this feeling that's so effortless of lift through the inner ankle, inner thigh, front of the pelvic floor, along the front of the spine, to the inner ear. Put your hands right at the base of your skull, behind your ears, and just feel how, as you lift up, you can feel your tail releasing down. There's a polarity between the inner ear and the tail, the sacrum, which is why sacral trouble often is really based on too much compression or overstretching from too much compression. And you'll notice the more that upper core, what I'm calling upper core, can be light and buoyant, and lower core more grounded, and central core, which is where we're going to go with our humming and our connection, our shoulder blade to deep belly, you just begin to feel, wow, there's a resonant coherence, a way in which our bodies function in the gravitational field, which is gravity, yes, is a force, but that has a rebound partner called ground reaction force. And so rather than thinking of, I got to defy gravity, I got to fight gravity, what is partnering and playing with gravity? So these are all you know, these are all things that probably many of you have explored, and we're going into, you know, more and more ways of looking at what we already know. How do we come back to what we know and see it from a deeper place, and then go deeper and deeper and deeper? And what it does is it creates embodiment. We actually then embody a deep understanding of something rather than trying to do it from my head. How do I be in a heartful, centered, remember the enteric brain, the second brain, creates more endorphins. And that's in our whole inner organ consciousness. So how do we have our head, where we're worrying so much, be grounded and supported by our heartful actions for ourselves, for one another, and be supported by the way we take care of ourselves, eating well, moving well, asking for support, giving support, like that. So much that we can continue to appreciate and build on with one another. So this sense of breath now, how do we take that into humming? Remember that with humming, you're sterilizing. Well, nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is created in the mucous membranes through humming. And nitric oxide is it's a neurotransmitter. So it lowers blood pressure. It's also a bronchodilator. So it expands. It creates expansion in the blood vessels, in the cardiovascular system. So you get more and more blood, or optimal blood flow, and can really help people with COPD, asthma. It's tremendous understanding when used well. But also nitric oxide sterilizes, humming sterilizes the, through the production of nitric oxide, sterilizes the air before it gets into your lungs. And that's why the beneficial effect of nasal breathing, period, is as a way of cleansing, purifying, hydrating the air on a regular basis. So nasal breathing, period, is what I teach all the time. So important, so important. We want to breathe through our nose, and we want to speak and eat through our mouths. And so to do a short practice where you're opening your mouth is not a problem. But it is a problem right now when we're having a pathogen like the COVID-19, where we want to have our first line of defense. We want to be a defensive host that is strong and able to, if we are infected, how do we move through? How do we have elastic lungs that the tissue is fed by the way we're being with ourselves? So when let's go back to shoulder blade to deep belly, what we were studying a moment ago. What is that feeling? Because the feeling of shoulder blade to deep belly, widening, melting on the exhale, feeling the deep lift through the pelvic floor as my ribs melt, and then allowing the inhale through my nose, is a feeling of elastic recoil. So let yourself hum and let your jaw be soft. Allow a softness through your jaw. Allow your tongue to rest right behind your teeth. Your teeth are slightly open. Your lips are closed. And that allows the air passage to open. as you breathe. You'll notice if you put your tongue at the bottom of your mouth, you let your tongue just drop to the bottom of your mouth. Do that for a second. You see how it drops your jaw and it actually impinges the air passage. So when your tongue is gently resting at the top of your palate behind your teeth, that feeds that openness to the air passage, and it allows your jaw to relax. So let's allow your inhale through your nose, and as you exhale, just hum. So it doesn't matter how long, you just want it to be relaxing for you. It's not about being long, long, long. It's about just feel what is allow the inhale. When I say allow, you don't do a big breath. You allow your body to take in what's natural from your natural exhale. And you'll notice how that will continue to get longer and more facile. You'll feel how, wow, I'm really building a capacity of the tissues are getting more and more of an ability to have to have the oxygen that's in my blood get into my tissues. That's what's often not happening. We think big breath, and what happens is that we hyperventilate and we don't yet. So we think we need more breath, so we hyperventilate more, and it just creates more sympathetic nerve overreaction. So to get the balance of sympathetic parasympathetic, you want to allow the body to take in what it needs, given our metabolic need at the time. It's very different to be sitting here than it is to be walking upstairs or walking stairs quickly. So breath changes all the time. There's not one way to breathe. Your breath, once you get in touch and once your body knows what it needs, boom, it will respond, it will adapt to where you are. So let's do that again. Allow your inhale. And as you exhale, hum. As you're humming, can you allow your ribs to melt? Can you allow your pelvic floor to respond? Remember, as you exhale, the diaphragm moves down and the pelvic floor moves. And as you exhale, the diaphragm moves up as your ribs move down. When your ribs melt, it allows the diaphragm to exhale the air out of your lungs. Your pelvic floor breathes along with your diaphragm. So this is another distinction that we teach at PCA, that there's a very important responsive movement. And that also includes the palate. So the way in which we're breathing is a whole body awareness that connects my arm through my shoulder girdle to my breathing spine, connects my legs through my pelvic girdle to my breathing spine. And so now we're going to play with some movements. So let's look at something for just a second, because this will be another very, very valuable living architecture awareness for you to play with. We don't usually think about that movement as profound. Well, that's just my hand doing that movement. But notice that as you gently spiral your hand, notice that moves your forearm. Then let the whole shoulder move. Then let your body move with your hand. And then just allow the openness to bring you back. Let's do that again on that side. Inhale, exhale, and hum. Allow your inhale. Exhale. Now, stay here for a moment. Stay here with your body and just inhale and unspiral your hand for a moment. And then exhale and go deeper. Inhale and unspiral. Exhale and go deeper. Notice how you're going deeper and deeper into your midline center. Your breath, your exhale is so deep. Come back to center. Let's go the other way. All you're doing is noticing your hand movement, how that relates to your forearm, how that relates to your shoulder, how that relates to your whole being. Stay there. Allow your arm to come back and just unspiral, and then take it again as an exhale, humming. Stay in that body spiral and unspiral your arm, and just allow the inhale, exhale, and go deeper. Wow. So you may have noticed that you really came to center. You got a deep, deep relationship with your midline, because breath is our most intimate relationship. That feeling of the fascial exhale is so deep. It's our deepest innerness. And then the inhale creates space. The exhale creates deep connection with ourselves. And yet, we can still relate to the world around us. So let's now take that into some other movements. You're going to lie down on your mat and put a pillow behind your head and shoulders, and bring another pillow. Put another pillow under your legs, or even just put some kind of pad or something that can allow you to rest your upper body not too high, and you want to feel that your legs are resting on the pillow. Your hamstrings are supported. So from here, let's go back to putting the TheraBand behind your back, right at your diaphragm, right at your lower shoulder blades. You want to sense that feeling of the melting shoulder blades. Allow your inhale. And as you exhale, straighten your arms while you hum. Allow the inhale to soften your elbows just a little bit to feel breath into your back. Exhale and hum. Inhale, soften your elbows just a little bit to feel the breath into your back, into the TheraBand. Exhale and hum. So you may notice that by softening your elbows just a little bit, you're not bending. You're not losing the integrity of the movement. You're actually staying in the tension, compression feeling that we talked about, the biotensegrity, the connectedness, interconnectedness of your hands connection, not just to your elbow and your shoulder, but to your shoulder blades that are melting down your back or resting on the floor. So your hand is deeply connected through your shoulder to your breathing spine. That's a very powerful feeling for your body to feel, because that takes you out of shoulder compression. It takes you out of neck compression. That opens up the tissues, the lung tissue, in a way that your body is just creating more and more resilience. So from there, allow your inhale, and as you exhale, as you reach your arms, curl your head just a little bit. So you're just sensing how can you melt your ribs and lift your head. Allow your inhale there and curl back down. Allow your inhale. Exhale, this time hum. Allow the inhale. Could you feel how your pelvic floor turned on as you curled your head? Because remember, your head and your tail relate to one another very deeply. And there's an internal lift that happens when you're really engaging from a deep level. Let's do that one more time. Allow your inhale. Bend your knees just a little bit. Soften your knees, and you'll feel how that will start to talk to a softening of the front of your hip as you hum. And then come back down. So let's look at, put the band behind your thigh, and or even around your foot. Put it around your foot, and just feel that feeling of, just begin to, as you exhale, hum as you begin to straighten that leg. You may notice that your shoulder blades melted down and your foot got more related with your hands and your shoulder blades and your head. Big connection all the way through. Let's do that again. Inhale, soften your knee just a little bit so you feel your heavy hip. Exhale and hum, straighten. Now right there, just like we were playing earlier, what's the feeling of, like we played with our hand in the spiral, what's the feeling of moving your foot, the helix of your foot? See, the foot is a spiral, and the foot relates to spiraling in the hip socket. So you take the foot internal as you go in and external as you spiral out. Feel how you're moving from your entire hip socket. You're not just holding your foot in one position. Take it across and out, and let's hum. And go the other way. External to go out, internal to come in. And if you have a longer breath, just go several times. And from there, how can you hold a little closer to your foot so that you really feel connected? You want to feel, so you want the band to feel like it's part of you. You're not using a TheraBand as a thing. You're relating your hands to your leg as though you're holding your leg. Think climb a tree. Allow the inhale here. And just send that foot away. Send that foot away. Send that foot away. And just float up. I'm going to hold a little closer because it feels, how can you feel that the band is relating to the waterfall of your shoulder blade? Allow your inhale. Let's do that again. Allow your inhale. This time take your hands wide and spread your fingers. Open up. Feel the outer, the pinky finger relates to your outer body. The thumb and first finger relate to your midline, inner body. Can you move your head freely? If you can move your head, that means your neck is not stabilizing. That means that your shoulder blade to deep belly is supporting your moving spine, your breathing spine. And let's play the other side. So also notice that there's a reason we have this pillow underneath our thigh. As we're forming in the womb, the hamstrings are initially on the front of the legs. The legs are open and the hamstrings are on the front. And as we straighten our legs in the womb, the hamstrings move to the back and the quads move to the front. So hamstrings actually work with the front body, embryologically and developmentally, and that it's a way that our body understands relating to gravity, that the back of the leg relates to the front of the spine. So it's very, very important to feel that you can turn that on. You can turn on the back of your leg's relationship to the front of your spine. So that's why that pillow is there for the standing leg. And this leg that's in the air we're cultivating that feeling by not overbending, by just feeling that soft sense of down the back, through from the waterfall of the shoulder blade, through the tripod of the foot. And how does that engage a feeling of back of the leg to the front of the spine as we breathe? Allow the inhale to soften your knee, just enough to feel your heavy hip. Exhale, straighten your arms from that feeling of down the back, shoulder blade, sit bone, tailbone, into the tripod of the foot. Allow your inhale. See, how can you really get a feeling that you're standing on that foot? This is what strengthening is all about. It's not about doing a lot of exercises. It's really about getting in touch with the grounding forces that feed us. And how do you take that as a way of being into your whole life, into doing every chore at in your house right now? So it's not about, okay, now I'm going to go exercise. It's like, what are you doing when you're not exercising? How are you using your body all the time? So let's foot spiral, the helix, take that foot over, circle around, and come back to center. And go the other way. And then just notice how that feels to allow your foot to connect so deeply to your head. So from that feeling, keep standing in that band. stand in that foot that's in the band and bring the other leg up. And this is a really powerful way to now take what we just did into a deeper understanding of leg circles. How do you have your foot that's grounded, that's standing on the floor, support the release of the hip that is working, the one that's now lifted? How does that hip stay centered and grounded in the hip socket and not just get caught and hiked up? So feel that same movement, circle it, circle that foot while you're standing, feeling the shoulder blades, your deep belly, supporting the standing leg that's in the band. Just circles, point and flex, and then let's go once again. We're internally turning it, and let's do the humming breath as this leg circles. Turning out. And go the other way. Beautiful. Let's change sides. I think each side is really appreciating the attention that we're giving. So from here, we're standing in this leg, standing in that band, feeling the back of the leg connected to the front of the spine, and we'll feel it more deeply as we move. So we're really sensing like that foot standing against a wall. And we allow the inhale, leg just floats across, allow the exhale. Go the other way. Fabulous. All right. So now let's look at sideline. So one way I like to play with sideline is putting a pillow to support the side that's down, to sense the floating of the ribs. So you're not in a position of hanging, right? Dropping. How do you feel that you're up? You can be here, or you can be here, really feeling the lift. The most important thing is to sense the support of this bottom leg. So we're just keeping that bottom leg bent so we can sense the buoyancy of this top leg. So here we have relationship to gravity. Bring this back under for the support. You'll feel how it supports, gives your ribs nice support. And what we want to feel is, how does the grounding of the side that's on the ground, how does that, when you get in touch with just allowing that feeling, how does that create lift? Come down, sense the ground, and allow the lift. Sense the ground, allow the lift. So let's do that with humming. So that's a feeling of that. Notice how your leg that's moving can be so much lighter, and also how you can get in touch with that feeling of float, but also lateral. So here's the lateral body. The side body is the lateral body. And this is often really difficult for a lot of people, that feeling of sideline. How do we stay centered as we move back and forth? So you feel your foot to head. Allow the inhale. Allow the waterfall, the shoulder blade down the back as you exhale. Then come back to center and do small circles. Go the other way. And come forward and point out and up. Flex out and down. And come back to center. Let's do the other side. Bottom leg's bent. You're seeing what position works for you, whether it's better to be down or up. What is it that allows your head? You don't want your head to be hanging in your hand. You want the lift, the grounding from the side body and the melting of your ribs to relate to how you're holding the strap. The TheraBand is part of you. It's part of the melt of your ribs. You're just letting that support you. So from here, allow your inhale. Straighten your leg. Inhale, soften. Inhale, exhale. And then from there, you're lowering the leg down. Sense the side of your body. As you sense that side that's on the ground, allow this side to float. Allow your inhale. And feel how the reach through your heel really enlivens that feeling of back body reaching, which wakes up internal lift from inner ankle to inner ear. Last one. Feeling how the ground gives you lift. And then from there, you allow it to go forward as you inhale. And just be with your breath. Let your humming breath take the leg longer and back and forth. Don't worry about, just inhale when you want to and allow your exhale. Feel how the breath is connecting your leg to your spine. Ooh, that feels good. Okay, now we'll do our small circles. We'll go the other way. Feeling the waterfall, feeling the shoulder blades releasing as you're playing with your humming. Beautiful. Then come back. Put your hips on the pillow, just lightly. We're going to go into a gentle inversion, and we're using a particular distinction that the three core perspective is based on of the double spiral arm. How do we connect? How does our lower core, central core, upper core interconnect and relate to one another? So right now we're going to look at how to get a platform with the arms that allows your lower spine to float. Why do so many people have difficulty with rollover? Because there's not enough support with the upper body. So what I mean by that is open your arms and feel how that softens and widens your shoulders. Then notice how that places the back of your arm on the mat when you bring the arms down by your side. Then just turn your forearms over, and that's your double spiral. Okay? So now we're going to do that lying down here. And you're putting the TheraBand right near your sit bones and holding the TheraBand. Your hands are holding and you're just pressing out lightly. Just enough to relax your shoulders, just very, very small right now, because you don't really need the pull out until the effort, the major effort is needed. So first of all, your legs are floating. Your arms are on the mat. Your hands are on the mat. You allow your inhale, and then just begin to allow your legs, the weight of your legs floats your tail. Keep allowing your legs to float, float, float. Now, if you get to the point where you need support in your upper body, just pull out with the TheraBand. As you pull out, feel how that gives you upper core support for your lower body to float. Allow your inhale there. And as you exhale, relax your jaw, relax your tongue, relax your chest, and allow your body to float back to center. Just notice if you had enough pull, whether you wanted to make your hands a little closer. What feels good to your body? What allows your upper core to feel grounded so your lower core can float? You can feel connected from your feet to your head. Allow your inhale. This time you're humming. Stay there. Allow your inhale. Beautiful. So these are things that you can play with. And now we're going to take that into a movement that I want to share with you that I find really, really powerful. For anybody who ever has cramps, you have cramps in your legs. Going into a downward dog movement. So you're on 4-point position. Whole hand, remember, inner hand, inner body, outer hand, outer body. Same thing with the feet. And we'll look at that more as we dive deeper into movements. So from here, just coming up, relaxing into, let your arm relax into your shoulder blades. Let them meet one another. So you're relaxing into your hands. And then notice where your feet can be so that you can begin to do just gentle little prances where you're relaxing the front of your ankle. Softening the front of the ankle is a major, major release for tension in the legs. You're just doing little pulses, moving from hand to hand, foot to foot, and just sensing that release of the heel and the softening of the ankle. Moving through. And then walk your hands back towards your feet just a little bit. So you're going closer to your feet. And then you're sending your tail back. Send your tail back as you walk your hands back. Keep sending your tail back as you're pouring yourself into your feet. Walk your hands back, back, back. And from there, you'll notice your hands become unweighted. You pour yourself into your feet. You curl up. And you have created an amazing fascial release in your legs that your body is deeply grateful for. It also releases your spine tremendously. So, I wanted to bring everybody into a circle so we can talk about some things. Have you unmute and be able to kind of go into some conversation.
Lovely.
Does anybody have something that that was important for them, or something that you found valuable, that was a valuable, or there was something you have a curiosity about, or a question you want to share?
For me, if I can speak up, what it did for me is, as you know, I fractured my C7 facet, my superior facet, back in October. And so this has been my movement from my head to the left side. It has a lot of restriction around it. And I tend to move very, quickly. Now, head turn to the right is better, but I have to really be aware of when I'm turning my head to the left to not get caught up in the whole shoulder turn and everything. And this really just brought back home for me how, or whether I'm sitting, how that's allowing me to move my head without having to. And I feel, some restriction back here. And it's just more of like I'm running into tension, right? Yeah. But I'm trying to figure out how I get that to release and to not feel that. And I can, but it really takes a lot of thought. It really takes a lot of awareness that when I do turn, I don't run into that restriction in my posterior portion on the left side.
Right. Right. Yeah. So one of the things that's very important, Sybil, what you're saying, when I was in a head-on collision about 10 years ago, and that was a major problem with my neck, and my sternum was cracked, and so playing with this feeling of fascial, and playing. See, as I'm doing this right now.
Yeah.
This is not an exercise.
Right.
We call it an exercise, but this is an awareness of what's happening. I've got this huge fascial support that's happening all the way through. So think about the movement that then culminates, like you're saying, in your neck. And what is looking back? What is that? What's looking out and looking back as you're humming? As you're being in, see, it's fluid resonance, as you know, that we're really studying. We're studying fluid resonance. And how does bone get reshaped? What is that? What is reshaping ourselves as we move? We're studying movement as body work. So yeah, we can talk more about that. But thank you very much for bringing that up. Yeah. Anybody else?
Hi. I found that the humming really helped me connect with my shoulder blades, which I've never really felt before.
Mm. Yeah, it's a profound feeling, isn't it?
Yes. I totally opened my upper chest.
Yes. Yes. So just to give a little more around that, to think of this as especially now with what we're going through. Think of the humming, something you do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon or evening. You do it. Don't do it too close to bed, but do it as a way of creating that connection, that resonance, and also the antiviral effect. The way in which we're impacting. I mean, I do it even more. I do it, but think of that minimally. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon. Like you're being with your body's defense system. You know, it's kind of like, you know, how if you ever drive through an area like there's a sulfur plant, or you can tell that there's something noxious, and I don't know, my body automatically goes into really, really small breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Notice that? It knows. It really knows. It knows how to protect us. And so that's something we're getting more and more in touch with. How can we help our body who's helping us? You know? Yeah. Great.
Can you say a little bit more about the nitric acid and how that is formed through humming? My computer, my video crashed out and I had to restart, so I missed a little bit.
Say that again?
The nitric acid that's formed through humming,
yes.
Can you repeat that a little bit?
Yeah, the nitric oxide is,
right, not nitric.
Yeah, is formed in our mucous membrane. And it's a vibratory sound, right? It has that effect. And nitric oxide works with oxygen and carbon dioxide to optimize the movement of oxygen into our tissues. But it also has a sterilizing effect on the air before it enters our lungs. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you, Wendy, because working virtually with clients is, you brought to light so many ways that I can help Kay, my 82-year-old,
Yes.
using the TheraBand, just doing roll down to here, because usually I'm there touching and helping, filling down the back.
Yeah.
And now we're using the TheraBand. I mean, it just, you know, so thank you very much.
You're
So
welcome.
the TheraBand and even the rollovers with my mat class who are more advanced, you know, and using the pillow and the TheraBand and having them feel the down the back and lifting. It just livens the whole movement.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, isn't it, sweetie? Because you know, so often we're used to thinking of a rollover or something like that as something that has to have a lot of effort to it. And how do we add just that little bit of lift at the hip, so then you can begin to feel how the weight shift. It's the weight shift that moves your spine, and that when you move your lower body, there has to be a support from the upper to support the lower moving. And once you really get that concept, you take the pillow away, and it's effortless, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just a beautiful tool to introduce a new way of thinking for someone, which is really what we're all about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Wendy, I'd like to say something. Melody.
Sure.
So I've been really exploring the asymmetries of left to right, my left and right side. I've uncovered a lot of old compensation patterns.
Yeah.
And what came to me like a couple weeks ago was like, gosh, I keep halving my body. I keep separating it. And it's more about the communication of left to right. And there is no really left and right. Like, how do I stop thinking of left and right? I mean, we say it and we need it for direction, but really, and so two things with the band is the leg circle prep with the foot in the band, one leg up, one leg down. When I got to the humming part and I was thinking foot to head of the foot that was up, my left side, which tends to just think it's separate, it gathered in to the right. So instead of me doing
you were standing in the band in the left foot?
No, I actually had the foot up in the band.
Oh, okay.
Before leg circles.
Yep.
But when I thought and when I was using the imagery and the humming of foot to head with that side, the left side just came in and connected instead of me squeezing my left sit bone in like I often do. It was this whole gathering in. And the other one of having the foot in the band, standing in the band, that also, again, allowed the two sides just to feel so less separate. So,
isn't that exquisite?
Yeah.
It's just thank you, humming breath.
And foot to head. Foot to head and humming. Foot to head and humming.
Yeah, just incredible. Incredible. Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you, Melody.
I had an experience, this is Leslie, while also with the humming, in combination with noticing where my eyes were looking. So I have a tendency to sort of always look just slightly to the right, and my right leg has a really difficult time finding midline and sort of rooting to my spine, the right side in particular. And when I was doing the humming breath, I noticed where my eyes were. I brought my eyes to midline with the humming breath, and my right leg just rooted right to my spine from the foot all the way up to my head. And it was like this combination of where my eyes were with the humming breath that helped my foot find my head. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it just incredible. And doesn't that once again take us back to our deep understanding of that our spine is connected between earth and sky, right? Earth and sky is primal for us. So breath is the connector. Without breath, there's nothing.
Well, speaking about breath, I may add that when we were practicing the exhales and the humming and movement, my inhale expansiveness, I almost had to wait for it because it kept growing. I had so much more capacity through a relaxed groundedness that my inhale got very expansive.
Yeah. Yeah, there's your elastic recoil.
Yes.
There's your resilience.
Yes.
Tissue getting more and more resilient. Right? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful, Gary. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, Wendy?
Yes?
I actually have 3 things I want to say, but they're all fairly quick.
Who is this?
So first, so I did your Passing the Torch program in 2014, and I remember like doing some of this hand sprawling stuff, and I remember like really not getting what you were talking about at all. I do it. I'm flexing.
I can probably relate.
But anyway, so today I really got it in a way that wasn't getting it in years past. And I really kind of got how, you know, hand turning over and then letting that turn the forearm over, letting that turn the elbow to the shoulder, and then letting that turnover of the hand actually give direction to the rest of my body. And then adding the humming breath, I kind of, Gary, what you were just saying, I could feel the spaciousness of the inhale and then how much farther I could move each time on exhale. And I've experienced that before. Like, you know, I go, I release, I can go a little bit further. But this somehow felt different, a little bit more new, and a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then in the legs, in the feet in the band, so when I had my left foot in the band and I was letting my hip be heavy and letting my foot go into the band, like I could feel the weight of my hip and the expansion of my leg really easily. And then I put my right foot in the band and I was really having a hard time feeling that two-directionness. And then I noticed it was interesting that my left leg actually feel like when I straighten it out, it feels really tight and pulled, but I felt like that was feeling that way because I don't have the weightedness in my right hip or in my right side. And so I kind of related to both what Melody was saying about right and left. And then Leslie, what you were saying about your eyes, I thought, ooh, that'll be interesting for me to notice, like where are my eyes going between each side, and then how can I kind of bring that back together with the humming breath to see if I can get the release on the right that actually has my left leg feel less like it has I don't know what it straightens, but I can feel all of that pull,
Right.
you know, kind of thing.
Right.
So
It's like it just becomes there is a continuity that wakes up.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. Between my left leg opens, but it feels pulled. My right leg feels comfortable, but it doesn't feel heavy. I don't have the two directions in it. So, and then one more thing I wanted to ask you is I'd like to understand, I know you're kind of speaking about it here and there, but I'd like to understand the humming breath more, maybe from a physiological standpoint.
Yeah. So next week,
where you could maybe direct me outside of this workshop to engage with that more.
oh, sure. Well, you can just Google it. Just Google, you know, humming and nitric oxide has become, you know, sort of up. There's more awareness around it. But also I'll be doing more around that next week on the Contemporary Pilates Haven, if that's something that works for you, you know, for the mastermind. And
yeah, I'm going to look into that.
Wednesday, but Ada will be posting. She'll be posting something about that.
Okay.
But yeah. So does anybody else have something that you know that you really would love to?
So one thing, this is Jenna. One thing that just kind of going along with the same thing with Melody and Emily with the how the legs release. I had a client that broke his hip just a few weeks ago, and we had only managed 2 sessions before everything shut down. And so we were just talking about, could I help him online and get stuff? And I was just thinking, going through this, how much I can use those TheraBands with him, even online, to help feed back into his spine, to help him work through how his leg is supposed to be moving and his hip is supposed to be moving and his shoulders are supposed to be moving and connecting together. That was a great little reminder of, oh, here's another tool that I had kind of forgotten about a little bit.
Oh, that's beautiful, Jenna. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for bringing your energy to one another, and it's just been incredible to be with you. I would love to hear from you if you have some special requests. I'm actually looking at, you know, doing more online, and but just be in touch with us. You can email Beth at info@Pilates Center of Austin, or you can email me personally, Wendy at PilatesCenterofAustin.com. And if there's any questions you have after the class, anything you want clarity around, please be in touch. I'd be glad to, you know, help to clarify whatever is there. So,
Thank you very much.
oh, I just realized we have a gosh, we have another visitors here that I wanted to have y'all see. A little oh my goodness, it's an alligator crossing.
Oh my God.
And here he is.
Oh
my God. They have sweet animals.
He's seeing the alligator. Buddy, the alligator. There's the alligator.
Say hi.
Oh, Michael! Hey, Michael! Hey, hey! Little alligator. I mean, toy.
Yeah.
There he is.
Giacomo is outside playing.
Hey, Wendy,
right now.
is Giacomo around?
What's that?
Is Giacomo around?
Giacomo is outside right now.
Okay.
Very sunny and beautiful. Give Sophie our love.
Well, she's right here. Wave back.
Hey, Wendy.
Hey, so here's your alligator. Okay, thanks y'all so much.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
Love,
Thank
sending
you.
joy, sending you
Amazing.
also
Amazing.
good energy.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.